Boom. We are now recording for posterity on today's program.
Posterity.
All right, you're listening to us on Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210, Digital TV Dial 27.1, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, Facebook Live, television, and if I'm not mistaken, you can also catch us on re-airs on $5 film. No, I'm joking.
I think that's maybe at least a little bit true. I'm gonna share this right now. WTMB.
WTNB TV. Now, while you're sharing that, Rob, tell us, shameless plug, $5 film.
$5
Remind
film.
people.
Last year, at the end of the year, I realized I'd gone through 2016 and only seen 2 movies. So I said to myself, that'll never happen again. Also, Robert Briggs of Robert Briggs Photography mentioned to me that Stimulus Tuesdays was a real thing. You know, like when you go to like the movies and that thing comes up and it tells you about like all the promotions and it says like Stimulus Tuesday. Well, like they actually mean that. Like you could go see any movie, brand new ones, for $5 on Tuesday.
Which is about the only way I'm ever going to be able to see a movie.
Yeah, so
anymore.
I go every Tuesday. And you can follow us on Instagram at $5 Film. It's with the number 5 at $5 Film. Facebook.com/$5 Film. And I guess Twitter at $5 Film.
So that's going on. And while I have you here.
It's super easy, though. So that's my plug is like I go see movies, and then while I'm still sitting in the theater when the movie's over, I write a quick review and I do a podcast.
There you go.
So there you go. And that's what I do.
We never did one on Logan. Did you ever do one on Logan?
I have not yet done Logan. I haven't done one in like 3 weeks. So if you want to do one, we'll do one.
I'm headed out of town next week.
Okay.
Maybe the week after.
All right, maybe.
So I went and saw Logan just for you.
Yeah, good. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. Oddly, real quick, there were like 10 people that all said Logan. Interesting, right?
Uh-huh.
Like all these movies, I listed like 6 movies I need people to podcast with me about, and everybody was like, I'll go see Logan. So it's just interesting, you know?
First come, first serve on the podcast.
Yeah.
Second, outside of $5 Film,
Yeah.
Rob Alderman, The Unfortunate Return.
Yeah.
Going to be on the stage May 20th
Yeah, man.
at Tennessee Live.
Yeah, you know, when you get to do the thing that you really like, that's the thing I really like. Like, I like $5 Film, and I love the Alderman Group, which is, of course, like the way I make a living, and I love Social Joey, which is the other way I make a living, and I love all that. But, like, if you'd been around this community long enough, then you'd know that that's the thing, like, I kind of came here doing. You know, like, came from Indiana and was starting to play music at that time, and then Lee University was wonderful to my musical endeavors. I put on a lot of shows, and I played in a lot of bands. Most notably, I guess, like, if you're old school, then it's Typical Sloan, and if you're newer school, it's Bigger Than Dallas, and, like, both those bands had really good runs. And now I'm older and have kids, and
you're a starving artist that got tired of being hungry.
Yeah, like so I guess like I don't know, like you saw the grin I got on my face when you mentioned the show. Like I don't know, like we're loving. I mean, playing music is fantastic. And when I was younger, I looked at guys who are the age I am now, and I was like, that guy has no business playing music. And so I really don't care. I realized that's what he thought of me. You know, he was like, oh, you're here, aren't you? You know, so I'm super excited. We're playing at the venue.
May 20th.
On May 20th. Doors open at 7:30. I guess, is it Corey Sitzler? Cody?
Cole Sitzler.
Cole Sitzler. And I'm sorry, Cole, if you happen to be listening to this, that I don't know your name, but I haven't met him yet in person. And then
Summer Shyvon.
Summer Shyvon, who is like, I guess he's like acoustic-y country, and she's like soulful bluegrass, maybe. And we are not either of those things. We're maybe more in the vein of like Sunvolt or Drive-By Truckers or, you know, something like that. So we're a little louder, but I think if you like Southern Fried, then that's a good show for you. In general,
I think that's what we're going to name this show, Southern Fried.
Yeah, right? Does that make sense? It's like we're loud Southern Fried, and she's soulful Southern Fried, and I haven't really heard much of Cole, but he's probably acoustic Southern Fried. But like, I think if you like that, you know, we're definitely more on the rock side of things, and she's more on the country side. But I think people will like both.
Well, this show is contemporary folky. If you think the broad spectrum of Americana, the soulful, folky blend that Summer Chavon brings to the table, and also with what Cole does on the country side of things. So I think that there's a lot of modern heritage, and I know that's kind of an oxymoronic term for a lot of people, but culture continues to develop, right?
Yeah.
And there are things in recent memory that we're probably on the backswing of. I hate to say that, but especially the Americana craze. The greats of Americana are probably have already made music.
I hope
Would you
not.
agree?
I here's the only reason I say no is I truly, I'm going to say something. People on this show don't care, right? They probably tune in for the politics, but like I can talk about music for hours. I don't want to do that. I believe that currently, right, that Drive-By Truckers and Jason Isbell are making records right now that one day we will weigh up against Tom Petty's Full Moon Fever. We will weigh up against Born in the USA. So I got to, like 3 weeks ago, stand in a completely sold out, standing room only, track 29, Jason Isbell show, and I thought, his new record hasn't even dropped, right? Like his big record is about to hit, and I was like thinking, good God, like he's got 3 Grammys. So like, Chris Stapleton and Jason Isbell and Sturgill Simpson, right? Like they're already being noticed by the world. Well, there's also this other little band a lot of people haven't heard of that Jason Isbell got kicked out of called Drive-By Truckers. And by the way, they've been doing this for like 20 years. Like they're the Rolling Stones of Americana. And they're still selling out shows like every single night. So like, I guess, like, I'm not trying to be, like, semantically argumentative. I just mean, like, I think we're re-entering a golden age. I actually think, like, the last of the good REM records were like the end. They were like what you were saying. They were like the end. And then kind of quietly, it's now come back.
Well,
and I think it's about to blow up. It's a revival.
But I'm one of those that actually believes the revival is, in and of itself, its own genre.
Oh, okay.
And
well,
so,
if that's true, then like I'm happy to be right in the middle of it. Like, like when I look at these bands, the thing that I do like is like, I think Jason Isbell and I are like 3 years apart, and like it's kind of like you and I on the radio. I tell people like we didn't start necessarily even as friends, but like more like interested people. Like I thought, well, this guy and I like we sort of like approach life similarly and yet very opposite. All these bands, Drive-By Truckers, Jason Isbell, these things that are happening in music right now, I relate to them, and they always say, like, that's what's made country music popular. Like, rock and roll isn't necessarily something you always relate to, but it's, like, something you feel. But, like, everybody sort of felt like their dog died and their woman left and the truck is broke down or whatever. So, like, that's what makes country country, and I feel like this new Americana thing is, like, those things coming together. So, yeah, if you consider it to be, like, its own new genre, it's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a really freaking good one because, I mean, the music's great, And, I'm looking forward to this show huge, like big time, and I hope people will come out.
For those who are having trouble following the musical nerdiness that just took place in this room,
I'm so sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry.
Most people would have dabbled in some sense of understanding that in any era. You meet the people who way back when the Rat Pack.
Right.
Did so many awesome things. People after that, the Beatles did so many awesome things. You get into the the folks who were the Peter, Paul, and Mary crowd, the Who. There've been for every generation kind of these monumental notes. In the '90s, the grunge music and Nirvana and all that kind of stuff. Americana is just one of those tasteful feels of music that if you appreciate music and you appreciate what takes place and people who write music and write songs and contribute to art.
Yeah.
That it's one of those things that you tend to pay attention to.
I mean, didn't Tom Petty just play in Atlanta last week and sold it out? Like a stadium. So, I mean, it just feels so vibrant to me. But I guess you're right. Like, I'm a little bit of an old soul. It's probably not as hip as I think it is. But I still think everyone should come out on the 20th. Like, I've been listening to Summer songs that she has posted online. And you had mentioned to me that you thought she, like, had, like, sort of like a soul or, like, kind of like a funk sort of to it, and it is definitely there. So like I like that it's overt in that way. You know what I mean? Like I feel like if somebody comes to this thing and they like rock and roll, folk, bluegrass, like the place where all those things mix, then they're gonna really love this show. And it's hard to think of anybody not liking that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of like you blend all those things together, you get some of the greatest things that have ever happened in American music, like Creedence Clearwater Revival or REM or Tom Petty. So I feel like the 20th. And I also want to say, like, you weren't expecting this. I know you weren't fishing for it. Like, shout out to you and the venue for your, like, the contribution of putting on showcases like this where people can come see a show. Like, there are good shows that go on. You know, there are other venues here in town. I found out just the other day about, like, a secret house show that goes on, like, 2 blocks from where you and I are sitting right now. And, like, I'm going to try to go.
It's been shut down like 8 times.
Like I hear about it, like, keeps moving around, but they have, like, 200 people come out to these things in these backyards,
Which is
right?
why it keeps getting
Like,
shut down.
yeah. But, like, I love that, right? So, like, the thing is, there are shows. But what I like about the venue and Woodman Life and, like, all the sponsors of the show, and can I mention Tarver and like
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
So Tarver Distributing and, like, all of that. Like, not to sound too corporate, because what I really mean is, like, you guys, what I like is you're saying, we want to put on a show with, like, it's televised, with lights, with good sound, with right, like, so where the show itself actually matters. And, like, I like that. I like that you guys are giving, like, a stage to performers to come say, these like, monitor wedges work. I can, I can hear myself.
The Taste of Nashville in Cleveland. And if you if you didn't catch the last shows on Friday nights, they're re-airing what took place with One Shot Down and Preston Paris and those guys.
Yeah.
And you can catch that re-aired on this program. We'll play a few little
thanks
clips
for plugging
coming
that
up.
show.
Yeah, no, great show. That is not the topic that Rob and I are here to
No,
talk about
I
today.
just, like, shared the Facebook Live and said we're talking about God and science.
Yeah, that's
And so,
right.
like, anybody who hops on and heard me, like, just going, like, all weird nerdy about Tom Petty is like, what? I didn't realize.
Well, we're going to do a quick rundown of the news. We'll go to the break, and when we come back, Rob mentioned we are going to talk about God and science. You've heard a couple of clips on this program over the past few weeks. If you've been listening and watching, we talked a little bit about Bill Nye last week and his new program. We talked earlier weeks ago about how unempirical science can be, the assertions of science, that we tend to be losing the process of scientific discovery because we're so quick to hold on to certainties that are uncertain. And just yesterday, we brought up the concept of what's taking place with Mark Green and how he's being berated as the Secretary of Army nominee over speaking at a church about creationism.
Right.
And it seems to every now and then things cycle back to the center of the debate, which is this moral concept of whether or not we're created by something intelligent and if we're accountable to that intelligence.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about God and science, and I'm going to ask a few very basic questions and let Rob rant.
Good.
But we won't spend a lot of time in the nitty-gritty of apologetics. If you're tuning in to get spiritual apologetics on God and science, you're not going to get them.
Yeah.
If you're tuning in to get justifications of things
I can't
like
wait
evolution,
to hear what the questions are.
we're going to take more of the 10,000-foot view in questions on is what's taking place in the scientific debate appropriate?
Sure.
Is it appropriate? Are we being fair to one another? That's the big question that I have today. So we'll get there. But in today's headlines, so one of the funniest headlines, believe it or not, trending number one on social media right now, is the fact that a rabbi visiting the White House took a selfie with Steve O'Bannon and actually had his mythical whiteboard behind the picture. And so we saw all of his nefarious plans through Twitter written on the board, which said, like, defund Planned Parenthood and get rid of Obamacare and stop funding to sanctuary cities.
And, like, the things that we knew.
Yeah, the things that we already knew.
Yeah, but, it is good to know the nefarious is nefarious, I guess. I don't know. Depends on what you consider nefarious.
Like, once again, that none of the
I've
things
got
that
to
we
tie
saw
into
in
that real quick. Yeah, I got to tie into that real quick. I went and saw, we were talking about $5 film, and I went and saw the movie The Circle.
Okay.
Last night.
Now give us a brief synopsis of that film.
So the brief synopsis is a Facebook-esque / like, it's a combination of, like, Apple and Facebook, right, who have created a massive social network, global social network, and, like, how intrusive that can become into people's lives, right? They kind of open the movie with they've created a new technology that lets people put cameras everywhere. And so, like, we can just go live with everything. And they're basically saying, won't this help us topple evil dictators? Like, anyone can tune in and see the revolution, stuff like that. And, of course, the not so subtle message in the movie is like give people some privacy, right? But what was interesting is things like what you were just talking about happen exactly in this work of fiction, which was a story written years ago, right? And a lot of times artists are the early adopters of theories. They don't necessarily know how it's going to play out, but they can feel like this doesn't feel right, right? And we saw this even, what was it, last year, the year before, when like, everybody's saying WikiLeaks just didn't accidentally, like WikiLeaks just said where a bunch of our undercover operatives are. Bring them home, right? Like years and years of work. Sorry, we're gonna leave those terrorist cells alone, or whatever. And then today, exactly. So now this war board, right, on Twitter, just on Twitter, big deal, kind of a big deal. Not what we saw isn't a big deal, but the idea that could happen. And then today, at least for our local listeners, you may know, and maybe haven't even heard yet, but they've caught the kidnapper and murderer of the girl in Dayton.
Well, they didn't murder the girl.
They didn't murder the girl.
They've caught the guy that murdered the gas
station attendant after
Correct.
he had kidnapped this girl. And, that just went down on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was like we don't now just get the news, like we watch it happen. And so, there was a news reporter in a helicopter, and he just turned on Channel 4, Nashville's Channel 4 Facebook Live, and, no big deal. Like, here are the cops looking for a guy. Hey, we found him with our dog. And it's like it's on Facebook Live. And what's interesting is in that movie, in The Circle, that literally happens. They say, let's use like their version of Facebook Live to catch a criminal. And so they turn like their 800 million users of their social network, say, everybody just take a picture of who you're around. And it's matching up to like this person's profile. And they catch a murderer that way. They say, we bet we can find somebody less than 20 minutes. Scary stuff.
Yeah. No,
and awesome.
Spelling out before your eyes.
So,
well, you mentioned the idea that a lot of times artists don't realize they're on the front edge of what's taking place.
You don't know. You just have
But that's why we have science fiction.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly it.
My father is a Trekkie, and it was uncommon for him to start pointing out that Star Trek was the Gene Roddenberry predicted so much.
Correct. Yeah.
And so we see that. But, we get this nice little selfie clip of Steve Bannon's warboard, and I just think it's funny.
Right.
And it's so secretive in a Twitter post by a rabbi.
Right. It may be nefarious, right? The nefarious is depending on what side of nefarious you're on.
Well, I think it discovered it wasn't so nefarious.
Right.
It was
I
just
believe
a
that
list
to be true.
Of
right.
things to be done.
I believe that to be true. But my point is people just walk in and take a selfie of the thing that nobody's supposed to see. Happens.
Also trending on social media, and this is a pretty big issue that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, except on social media. And we have talked about on this program the Department of Labor ruling with regard to overtime. The House has now passed a bill saying that rather than pay overtime, private employers, can actually offer paid leave instead. We've called that comp time for years, right?
Comp time, yeah.
Comp time has been a very popular practice in private business, and where if somebody incidentally, because of the demands of job, who's an hourly employee, works over 43 hours, and we say, leave an hour early the next 3 days next week. It's been an exchange between the employee and the employer.
Right. Now it can be official.
It keeps from you blowing your budget up. It keeps from you running into personnel issues with a budget to where you have to lay people off, over time. So the House has passed that in a very partisan vote. Elizabeth Warren took to social media, which is why this is trending on social media.
As she do.
Yeah. This is probably the only reason it's getting social media attention is because of her completely lambasting, calling Republicans heartless and yada, yada, yada. And once again, no love lost for Elizabeth Warren on this program because at the end of the day, she obviously knows nothing about business at all, as most things she makes comments about.
Right, yeah.
She knows jack about. She has been the one pushing behind a lot of the DOL rulings that have affected not only the financial services industry, but basic employment of small employers. She's choking small business, and she wants to call those who are trying to assist small business economic development, which is still the number one employer in this nation, she's trying to call them idiots. So there you go, Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
I expect all the liberal feedback to come to us on Facebook.com/manuptalk.
We don't have that much liberal feedback, do we?
If it's coming on Elizabeth Warren, it's got to be liberal feedback. Yeah. I've not seen any reasonable moderate come to her defense on stuff like this.
Yeah, no, I don't like her. You know, I guess on this show I'm I'm the most liberal, right?
Some
like,
people
when
think
we're
you are
honest,
liberal.
like people think I'm liberal, don't they? It's really weird. I hate that that's like the perception.
You're a
but
scary
it's
liberal.
whatever.
You're a liberal with a gun.
Is that it? I'm that weird guy that thinks we shouldn't abort babies and not drop bombs on schools. That liberal.
How dare you?
I think we should pay our tithes and also take care of people, maybe through an assistance program if the church doesn't do it.
Speaking
I'm
of
that guy.
Speaking of liberals with guns.
Oh wait, I remember what it's called. It's reasonable. I forgot. Like
oh,
reasonable.
okay. We'll search for that word. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of liberals with guns, FBI Director James Comey sitting in front of Congress.
Good God. Listen.
Is troubled that he might have influenced the election.
Listen. That was I was sitting at a meeting this morning when that came on. And it was funny. We were right down here. I was having this meeting at Cobblestone, and everybody is eating. Like young, old, all creeds were represented. And all of a sudden, everybody in the entire restaurant looks up at the television and kind of sighs for a second, like really deeply, like, and you could feel the, like, more of this? Like, more of these shenanigans? And then everybody went back. But it was interesting communal moment.
Well, I don't know what to say about the James Comey thing. Whether he was doing his job or I don't know. I just thought it was funny that he feels he's troubled. He influenced the election. I'm making noise over here.
That's all right.
That out.
You know, the thing is, I think with the James Comey thing is like aren't we ready for it to be done? This thing?
It ain't changing anything.
No.
At this point, it's not changing anything.
Yeah,
I think the decision is he too tarnished to save?
Right.
Because, you know, when we've talked about it here, we remind you again, confidence in our government, in our system, in our way of life, in our society, period, is at an all-time low. Confidence in science, which we'll get to after the break.
Yeah.
We have a lack of confidence. Yeah, we have a lack of confidence.
Yeah. I don't know.
Can it be salvaged? I don't know. You know, my grandfather used to say about church, some people have to leave, some people have to die before the church can get healthy.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
right, yeah.
Is that the case for our society? Do we have to see a generation transfer over? Some people say yes, some people say no. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're actually going to address
I think I'm on yes. Does that make me a liberal?
on yes that a generation needs to change over.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen regardless. So it doesn't matter. Give it time. Again, you're listening to Talk 101.3 The Buzz WTNB Television. We'll be back. We're going to talk about God versus science.
Geish.
10,000-foot view. It's a hot topic right now. See you in a moment. The good Dr. J. Adam here, talking to all the gentlemen out there. For those of you with wives, girlfriends, even mothers, which would make all of you, you need to call 423-472-8887 and talk to the good folks at Bliss Day Spa. Nothing says I love you like the special treatment, the VIP treatment of the services of Bliss Day Spa. Call them today, 423-472-8887. Tell them the good doctor sent you from Man Up America.
J. Adam, have you ever felt kicked in the gut when trying to get approved for a loan or a home mortgage? Then go by and see my friends at Home Mortgage Solutions for a free approval. They don't hand them out like candy and just tell you what you want to hear, but they dig deep to find the solutions you need to get qualified. They have competitive rates, and with over 80 years of experience under one roof, you don't have to go anywhere else. They're never too busy, so just give them a call, 423-339-8086, or visit homemortgagesolutionsllc.com.
You do things every minute of every day to protect them. Don't stop now. Woodman Life Family Term Life Insurance covers your entire family with a monthly premium that won't increase for the first 20 years. Guaranteed.
It's reassuring to know that when you retire, Woodman Life will be there with you, providing insurance protection and financial security so that you can sit back, relax, and enjoy your retirement, knowing that you and your family are safe and secure. For more information,
423-790-2847.
Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
Okay, folks, nothing too elaborate with this commercial right here. The Venue Creekside is located in Cleveland, Tennessee, and is here for your next event. Most people rent a facility and then they spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars bringing in the things they need to make it an awesome event. The Venue Creekside has it all on site. It's included tables, chairs, linens, everything you need in multimedia from sound, lights, and video. It's all right there. Consider it for your next corporate meeting. Right there at the Venue Creekside, located at the Village Green. So get more information at thevenuecreekside.com or call them 473-9668. If you mention Man Up America, save an extra $100 on your rental.
Welcome to Nissan of Cleveland. Stop by our showroom today to take a look at the amazing vehicles we have for sale, like the brand new Nissan Maxima and the V8 Titan. Check out our Imagination Bar where you can view our entire inventory in real time. Also, our dedicated service specialists are here to ensure your vehicle is repaired and on the road in no time. Here at Nissan of Cleveland, our sonic pricing ensures that you receive a fair, competitive price on your new vehicle, and we back that with a lifetime warranty. Nissan of Cleveland, located just off exit 20 on I-75. Welcome to
My passion is outdoors, but my knees reached a point where I just couldn't enjoy it as well. So I had knee replacement surgery at Tenova. My experience was excellent. My new knees are great. They work well, I have no pain, and I'm able to do all the things that I enjoy.
If joint pain is affecting your life, find out how Tenova can help. Come to a free joint pain seminar. Register today at tenovaortho.com.
Again, you're listening to us on Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB Television, right here in Cleveland, Tennessee. Thank you to Home Mortgage Solutions, Bliss Day Spa, Stage AVL, the Venue Creekside. We've got Woodman Life, Alderman Group's in with us today. We've got to get Alderman Group's ad up.
You
on there.
keep asking for logos and such.
Listen, I keep trying to prop up just exactly all the great things that you do over there at the
Thanks,
Alderman
man.
Group.
I appreciate it.
But Social Joey, too. I'll say to a lot of our listeners, if you own a business and you're just not really sure what this whole social thing we talk about on this program is all about, you need to contact Social Joey, one of Rob's companies, and that's exactly what they do.
Absolutely.
They help you understand what to do to interact through social media, because it's a huge medium right now, and it's a way to reach your customers. It's a way
it really
to
is. You got to be there. You got to be there. It's like saying you would run your business without a phone.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree with you.
That'd be ridiculous. But people are like, I don't need to be on the socials. Untrue. Like your competitor who's on the socials is doing better than you.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
You know, so yeah, absolutely. SocialJoey.com.
How many times now? I can't tell you the last time I opened a phone book.
No.
I can't tell you.
If you're spending money, and let me tell you this, it's cheaper. Social Joey is cheaper than the Yellow Pages.
Wow.
So if you've been considering the Yellow Pages for your business, just come to Social Joey. We love you. That's easy, right? Which camera should I look in?
Come on over.
I'm going to look in this one. I don't know that this one's working, but I'm going to look in it. I'm looking
it's working.
at it right
You're
now.
looking at it.
If you're considering the Yellow Pages, come to Social Joey. It's cheaper. We love you.
I am the walrus. Cuckoo, cuckoo.
That's right. I am. All right, God and
big
science.
debate.
Wait. I got to say something first.
God
I
versus
forgot.
science.
I
Go
promised
ahead.
that I would do this. Are you ready?
All right.
This is a formal on-air apology to the Hollywood Slinky for standing him up for lunch today.
He should have come in.
He
He's
said
been
that
invited 3 times
he-
and he is yet to return.
He said that, I think it's hard for him, but he likes it. He likes the show. So I felt like I needed to say that to him on the air, specifically because he said, I would forgive you if you did that. So I'm going to add one step further. I'm not going to belabor this, but I'm going to read this to the Slinky. Are you ready?
Sure.
I never meant to cause you any sorrow. I never meant to cause you any pain. I only wanted to one time see you laughing. I only wanted to see you laughing in the purple rain. Purple rain. Purple rain. So that's for the Slinky.
Yeah. Do you want a ball with
He
a revolution?
didn't know he was going to get that. He didn't know he was going to get all that. I'm hoping we can have that covered
Oh,
together.
we
by
miss
the
you,
show.
Charlie Murphy.
Purple rain. All right, God and science.
God and science. Okay. What predicated this discussion and why we chose to forego all things Texas Hold'em related with the flop, the turn, and the river to take the back end of the program today, Wednesday, May Trey, which is the Tres de Mayo, and actually have a discussion about God versus science. I mentioned that last week we talked about Bill Nye. A few weeks before that, we talked about how when we got into the issues of climate change and stuff, that some of the trouble people who support climate change are running into is the fact that some scientists who are advocating for climate change aren't using the most scientific justifications to do it, and it causes confusion in people and doubt.
Right.
This happens across the board. And then, of course, this week we had the Secretary of Army selection has yet to be confirmed. Mark Green, Tennessee State Senator.
Yep.
Trump's pick.
Yeah.
And people are criticizing him for giving a speech in which he says, there's inconsistencies in the scientific debate, that the second law of thermodynamics says that things progress from order to disorder, not the other way around. And he used the illustration of if you set your lawnmower in your backyard, over time it breaks down into its core elements. It doesn't become another lawnmower out of its core elements.
Sure.
Or if you put the core elements out there, then it will become a lawnmower. So to make the assertion over evolution, macroevolution in his case, is a bit asinine, to which the rebut was, no, you're asinine.
Right.
No, you're asinine. No, you're asinine.
Yeah.
That tends to be the exchange.
That feels like America.
We
I feel
see.
like I feel like that was. We're
God,
good.
God bless us all.
We're good.
Excuse me. Science bless us all.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Here we are. We're in
Yeah.
the battle. Okay, the battle, God versus science. I'm going to say this as full disclosure because we man up about ourselves on this program a lot of times. I do not believe that God and science are in a war.
I don't either.
I think we have created this war between God and science. So let's take the 10,000-foot view here.
Yeah.
And here is my central question. I said we wouldn't get into apologetics and we're not going to get into scientific justification. But I want to talk about the Mark Green scenario
Okay.
in which a professed Christian, a person of faith,
Yeah.
goes to a Christian building
Yeah.
with other Christians, gives a lecture about why he's a Christian,
Yeah.
and people point and say, delusional, can't run the army.
Right.
My question is, have we become so unfair in light of the fact that no one has certainty, okay? And I said yesterday on this program that if people of faith, Christians, are okay with the idea that we don't have certainty. God kind of says in Scripture,
Yeah.
you're not going to have certainty. That's why I require faith. I'm not going to give you, blessed are they who have not seen and believed, right? That there's some credence to that in the
Yeah.
faith. But that's much more difficult on the secularist side of the debate. So this ensued on social media, on my private socials, with some friends who aren't quite believers in the Christian faith. And I just simply said, you're being unfair to Mark Green to call him delusional.
Right.
because you really cannot say he's delusional because you do not have a clear justification what you're asserting.
Right.
That he's essentially saying because your theories do not line up with your laws, the laws of thermodynamics, the laws of motion, that therefore that in and of itself is asinine. So rather than finger pointing across the table, my question on the God versus science debate is, have we left the ability to take a truly scientific point of view with matters of the world, creation, and existence by saying there are things we yet don't know, and therefore, rather than assert that we know them, we continue to seek? Mm-hmm. My question is: have we stopped seeking and have we started maligning?
I don't think so. I'll tell you the truth is that I really don't think so, and that may be surprising to you for me to say. I'll begin by saying I don't believe that God and science are opposed. I do believe that many Christians are opposed to scientists, and I believe that maybe many scientists are frustrated and opposed with certain members of the Christian community. But like the point of science is to seek, right? To boldly go where no man has gone before, right? Isn't that the thing? Like we were talking about Gene Roddenberry, trying to pull it all together.
You did very well. Good.
Yeah. So
good tie back there.
Yeah. So I feel like science at its core is about the seeking, not about the finding. And that may be easy for somebody to say, well, like, you know, whatever. Like you're a social media creative writer guy. Like, so maybe you're about the seeking, but scientists are about finding, right? But no, like we hypothesize and we theorize before we ever factualize, right? And I happen to know some brilliant scientists. I'm actually, a very good friend of mine is a tenured professor as of today at University of Kentucky, Lexington, maybe? What's the big one in Lexington? It's not University of Kentucky, is it? Or is it?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, the big one.
As a Duke fan, I reject any notion that anything
anyway,
exists.
Anyway,
in
my
Kentucky.
point is, this is a brilliant kid, right? And when we were in junior high, we knew he was brilliant, right? Mm-hmm. And then when he went away to Purdue and he was chosen on a small team to go to Michigan as a freshman and figure out how to pull poison out of the groundwater in Michigan, we knew he was brilliant. And then later on, when he formed a small company that created biomolecular sprays that you can spray on a wounded soldier to heal his wounds, or to cover up his wounds instead of giving him a tourniquet, we knew he was brilliant, right? Like we've always known he was brilliant, but he's like the biggest seeker of knowledge that I know. Now, once he feels like it has been through the method, right, then he has absolutely no problem saying to somebody, like, you are ignorant, right? You're ignorant of this. And it sounds awful. Sounds like an academic guy slamming something down your throat, but the truth is, like, he was all about the search till he found the thing. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean he's stopping searching for other things. And I feel like one of the problems that we have in this current debate, maybe about climate change, is we do have a lot of scientists who feel like we have conclusive evidence. And then we have scientists who feel like we don't. And so because those scientists are opposed with one another, then Christians, as we do, get involved in maybe picking sides that we like more, right? But like that search is still on, like even if it's now the search for consensus. Mm-hmm. You know, like I could only tell you, like, in my own life, which is limited, 40 years, I remember coming to Tennessee at Lee University and having a full winter that we don't have anymore. And we haven't. It's brief. It's brutal. Sometimes it shows up in spring, right? But like something has changed, right? In my life. And like what a scientist would say is, but we're looking at longer cycles than that. We're looking at these huge long cycles. But if you just asked me, right, in my limited knowledge, like not having hypothesized and theorized or whatever, if you just came to Rob Alderman and said, we got a climate issue, I'd be like, were you here this winter when we didn't have any snow? Right? But like, I would be assuming two things. Number one, I grew up with 4 seasons because I grew up in Northwest Indiana. That's what I used to. When I came to Tennessee, we had 4 seasons. Now we have like rain and rain hot, right? Like here. And that's limited to what? It's limited to my experience in a region of 40 years.
Which is
so I'm not a good person to ask.
Which is an observable time frame.
Right.
when we talk, and I don't want to blend
So
too
we've
much.
had
the
climate change in my 40 years in
I
Cleveland.
don't want to suggest that that the bifurcation in the debate over climate change is the same bifurcation over God and creation. I know plenty of Christians who believe in climate change. I know plenty of secularists that don't believe in climate change. Okay, so let's not tie those two together. But what I will say is, when we talk about science, and I read the statement from the National Academy of Sciences with regard to Mark Green's statement and saying that evolution has a pattern of observable and empirical evidence that supports why it actually exists. And what I said yesterday was, well, you're using the evidence that exists in microevolution, which has been observable, which has been testable, but the assertions of macro Darwinism, the idea that interspecies, that a hamster can become a horse,
Right, yeah.
there is no observable evidence. There is no
Right, correct.
empirical evidence. So your theory is just that. It's you making sense of similarities. You know, we talk about the idea of, you know, they're starting to use the whole dinosaur to bird scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And the observable evidence of that is completely experiential, that similarities exist. Well, if similarities were the essence of empiricism, Taurus the bull in a constellation would be a bull. And early people believed there was a bull in the sky because the stars, when our brain auto-completed and says, that looks like a bull, there must be a bull up there. We're doing the same thing with PhDs nowadays. Is it not fair to say that is just as much of a faith leap as something Mark Green would say, where he'd say,
Oh,
I believe
maybe.
there's
I
an
mean, you know,
intelligent design.
the big difference for me, though, is, man, like,
saying-
I'm already all in. I'm already Pentecostal.
Yeah, well, I'm asking,
I believe in the
are
blessed
we-
mysteries more than any other thing. We're talking about scientists. I feel like
Are we being unfair? Or is the scientific community especially being unfair to creationists right now? And have they stopped in searching for intelligence
if they
in the story of creation?
if they have stopped searching, then they're failing as scientists. That's what I would say.
Which brings me to point of what we've made on this program
Right.
time and time again. We're surprisingly so unscientific.
But I mean, I would say, like, if as a Christian, like, you feel the need to, like, bash science, then you're failing at your Christianity.
I agree.
You see what I'm
I think that from a Christian perspective, the quest for science is an understanding of God's creation.
Yeah. I don't
And
necessarily
think-
know that we're super good at that. You know, one thing Sleeky and I do talk about quite a bit is this exact subject. Me being more Pentecostally than he is, like, we're not on polar opposites of the thing, but one thing we both do agree on, like, we can typically tell, like, when we're agreeing on a thing, that's maybe we've reached a pretty reasonable middle ground of a thing, right? Not that middle ground's always good. That's probably a wrong phrase. If what we do know is that, like, these, like, emissions from our cars and these things do pollute our environment, then really isn't the long-term effect or the whether or not we're in the middle of a warming crisis irrelevant to the importance of us as Christians to affect change on the environment God gave us?
No, the argument for stewardship is strong, and it's growing.
That's where I'm at. It's like, you know, let's just be
generational.
good with the things we've been given. Like, this is why we can't have nice things. That's what I want to say.
You keep drifting back to climate change. I'm trying to stay on
Oh,
creationism.
okay. Well, let's go. Sorry.
And I know you weren't here for that debate. And
I
we've had
wasn't.
this,
I
and
wasn't, so I'm sorry.
But I use that as a great.
Okay,
10,000
creationism.
foot- Yeah, the whole creationism debate. I keep going back to. I think that scientists fall short.
So are we? We're going to talk
assert
all about, like,
that they can.
Bill Nye and John Hamm or whatever his name is. Not John Hamm. That's the actor. Who's the guy with the
guy-
Ark Museum?
Yeah, I see. No, I
That
don't-
guy.
yeah,
Well, you know,
that
they
guy. I don't know if
debated
that
this
was a
last
good-
year live on Facebook.
It's like saying, Kirk Cameron's a good champion for creationism.
Right. I didn't know if that's where you were going with it.
No. I'm looking at the more recent things. Bill Nye's new show, Bill Nye Saves the World, addresses a lot of those things. We talked about what he said about sexuality on here.
AKA Bill Nye finally makes that $1 million.
Well, let me go ahead and bring this up. For those of you who have not noticed this, I thought this was a funny meme.
This is incredible.
The moment
This is
that you
incredible.
find out Dolph Lundgren is exponentially more qualified to be called a scientist than Bill Nye. Bill Nye has a BS in mechanical engineering from Cornell University, where Dolph has a chemistry degree from Washington State, a chemical engineering degree from the University of Stockholm, a chemical engineering master's from the University of Sydney, and was a Fulbright scholarship recipient at MIT.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
I mean, it's on the internet, so it must be true.
It must be true.
I haven't actually researched this, but I did love it as a meme.
It was a great meme.
I hope that it's real.
It was a great
Like, I
meme.
really want, I hope that, like, all of this right here, all of these degrees correlated to, I will break you.
Well, I bring all
Like,
this.
awesome. I mean, Andy knew how to get a great haircut.
I bring this up to say
Bro,
point number
stack.
2. Point number 1 was we're being unfair to each other and being unscientific when we dismiss dialogue
Correct.
about anything unknown. Okay, so it's unfair to label Mark Green delusional.
Sure.
Absolutely unfair. The second point is
And it's unfair for
Who do
the
you
Christian
trust?
community to dismiss science.
the point is who do you trust? I have people who say Bill Nye, Bill Nye, Bill Nye. Okay, well here's Bill Nye. Has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and,
Sweet
and made
bow tie,
a wonderful
sweet bow tie.
and invented a wonderful mechanical component for Boeing once upon a time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but was a comedian. All right, we know we trust comedians for political advice, but
We
now
do.
it's
We
scientific
really
advice.
do. We really do.
I'm waiting for Joe Rogan to actually tell me how to perform open heart surgery.
He's close.
I'm waiting for medicine.
He
okay?
might have already done it on his podcast and it hasn't hit the mainstream.
Who knows? You know, Abbott and Costello do dental work.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have that. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that Bill Nye hasn't said some great things, and I'm not saying you have to have a PhD to have an opinion about matters surrounding this, but what I am saying is some folks tackle Scripture and say you believe things that were written by people thousands and thousands of years ago, and I say, is it asinine to believe that a history of humanity that has believed, supported, and in their own way, maybe not empirical, evidenced these things to be true, is any less valid than people who, in the concept of history, were born yesterday? And not only just born yesterday, spent 4 years under the tutelage of people we consider to be good people to study from. You know, we believe the writings of someone, whether it's the writings of Bill Nye or Carl Sagan. And I think that it's a little short-sighted to say that those people become the new Bible, that someone in the brief flicker of an eye rewrites the story of humanity. And I keep going back to, we still acknowledge the brilliance of Albert Einstein in our society.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Yet quantum mechanics completely blew our mind with our understanding of relativity.
Yes.
And we're still holding on to relativity because we realize there's some truth there, right? But we also know this little quantum thing is kind of
really
true
matters.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
So what do we do with that? We're not doing that when it comes to thousands of years of human history. Brilliant people throughout human history who did the same thing, probably even had more time. They were less distracted by social media. You know, they were less distracted by things in life. They spent more time pondering, thinking, dwelling. The story of humanity that we dismiss it tomorrow because somebody publishes a research paper that says the 7-guild newt was really our ancestor.
I guess I'm super. You and I don't find ourselves at odds on the show very much, right? Like particularly when we have a common common ground. In this case, being our faith. Like the faith side of this is not in question. I'm really surprised that you, being such a man of data, though, seem to be like so adverse to this idea of like scaffolding knowledge through history, right?
What makes you
like,
say I'm adverse to scaffolding knowledge through history?
What I'm saying is like what you're saying is we're so quick to dismiss these people, but we're not dismissing these people. What we're actually dismissing is the idea that those people then somehow had more knowledge than what we have now because we have what they had. Plus what came after that, and what came after that, and what
but
came after that.
The modern
like,
Darwin-
and like we can't go back and say like, right, we're more distracted by social media than they were. Well, like yeah, you know, like thousands of years ago, like wonderful people that we think are great, like we thought slavery was okay.
The difference
Or whatever.
here, the difference here with creationism is Darwinism is not an expansion of the understanding of creation, the creation story over the course of humanity.
So we're
It was
we're
a
just
rebut
limiting.
of it.
We're
And
limiting
people
this
have,
to
yeah,
just
people
that.
have
Okay.
rebutted it.
I was in a
So
much broader
It's
scope.
not scaffolding.
Okay,
I'm
I was in a
arguing
much.
that-
I
I'm
was in
arguing
a
that-
much broader place.
I'm arguing that people aren't scaffolding. Now, there are some people who have. We look at the scientists who discovered DNA, who actually became people of faith through the process of discovering DNA because in some way his discovery was evidence of a creator. So you have both taking place. You have people dismissing and tearing down the scaffold of human knowledge through the course of history. And some of it's even basic wisdom, if you think about it. Constantly, we're tearing down the very basic notions of humanity so quickly. And what I'm saying is pause. But
Okay.
before you throw God out of existence, before
Yeah.
you're so willing to take such a monumental step, have you, Joe Schmo, who sells, Eno hammocks
Yeah.
at Blue Ridge Outfitters, have you
Oh dang!
honestly?
We know where the dude lives apparently.
well,
where he works.
honestly, no, I'm making that up. That actually does not
across town, the guy at Blue Ridge is like, but I love Jesus.
I heard a guy one time. I was over there. I was looking at a hammock one time, and I just heard a guy say something atheistic. That's the only reason I bring that up.
Yeah.
But have you, so qualified individual, have you, comedian Bill Nye,
Yeah.
probably Bill Nye more than others, we make life-altering decisions, whether they be political, behavioral, and we can even, let's break this down to health.
Yeah.
How often do we read something on Facebook and we go out and we immediately start drinking antifreeze because someone said, that's what you've been told about it being
Yeah.
a poison? That's not so true. Drink antifreeze and ABC.
I guess I just feel like I'm a lot more comfortable. I feel less attacked by them than you do, I think. You know what I mean? Like I'm not in disagreement with things. Like I believe the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like I always have. I also try to approach it reasonably, like both as God's word and its place in history, right? And I guess I just don't feel this huge, overwhelming wave. Like Bill Nye, man, right, he wants to go on TV and debate with a guy. But that's not the scientific community. You see, so, I guess, I just don't feel like the scientific community is, attacking Christians. I feel like Christians do tend to, say,
think
I
you may be
dislike
onto
this thing.
something, which is point number 3. Point number 1, we're being entirely unfair to one another when it comes to
Right.
issues of the unevidenced and unknown. Point number 2 is when we look at the scope of qualification of an individual to speak, and even a generation to speak,
Yeah.
it takes time to unwrite the story of humanity.
Right.
Okay? But point number 3 is exactly what you're leading to. Is this really a debate between people of faith who understand faith and people of science who understand science? Or is this people with a pen in our already untrustworthy media constantly making much ado about nothing? For instance,
Right.
the Mark Green story. Was this really a rebut from the National Foundation of the Sciences, or did some reporter who's looking to
Right.
hang up Mark Green
Right.
call for a statement? And
Yeah.
most of us say that's exactly what's happening. So that goes back to the journalistic integrity that we have with people who are speaking with voice, but that voice is becoming more and more ignorant from those
The
sources.
biggest argument I ever had, we talked a little bit about theology. When I got my degree, when I got my master's degree and I came back, the largest argument I had with any one person happened to be over a disagreement in some Old Testamental scripture, right? And during this disagreement, I didn't think we were disagreeing. I thought I was just sharing some things. And this guy starts saying, but I don't interpret it that way. And I said, well, it doesn't matter how you interpret it. It is what it is, right? So I definitely think, on the Christian side of things, maybe we need to check our qualifications as well.
Perhaps so. Long debate. Once again, be kind to one another. Listen.
I didn't realize we were out of time.
If you believe in your faith, if you believe in your Christian faith, you have to have dialogue with people. It's the Great Commission. And if you're a science and you're a man of science, listen to people of faith and actually start your process of discovery. That's all we have for today on Talk 101.3 The Buzz WTNB Television right here, Man Up America. Good Dr. J. Adam, Rob Alderman.
That's all we have. We'll see you tomorrow.
Peace.